Alex, congratulations. What an incredible performance. Before I ask you about the match, who did you call on the phone right now?
I called my dad.
What did he tell you?
I don't know. I just said, oh my God. And we were just screaming and my mom was there too. And I don't know. I'm really happy. Yeah.
This was an incredible performance. You just beat the world number.
No one saw this coming. Not the fans, not the analysts, not the commentators, and certainly not the betting markets. When Alexandra Eala walked onto the court in Berlin, the assumption was simple: a promising young player getting a chance against one of women's tennis' biggest stars. The story was supposed to belong to Elena Rybakina, the Australian Open champion, former Wimbledon champion, world number 2, and one of the most feared competitors on any surface. Instead, by the time the last ball was struck, the entire tennis world was talking about Eala. The young Filipino star delivered the kind of performance that reshapes careers, shifts perceptions, and demands everyone's full attention. This was not a fortunate upset propped up by an opponent having an off day. It was a complete, disciplined performance rooted in courage, preparation, tactical clarity, and an unshakable belief that she belonged on the same court as one of the best players in the world. What made the result even more striking was the surrounding context. Rybakina entered Berlin in strong form. She had already claimed the Australian Open title earlier in the season, reaffirming her status among the sport's elite. Her serve remained one of the most dangerous weapons in the game. Her powerful ground strokes could overwhelm almost any opponent, and grass had historically been among her most comfortable surfaces. On paper, this match was supposed to go one way. Most predictions suggested Eala would struggle to handle the pace and power. Instead, she walked onto the court with an entirely different script in mind. She was not there to admire her opponent's resume. She was not there to gather experience. She was not there simply to compete. She was there to win. That mindset was apparent from the opening game. Even as Rybakina imposed herself early, firing serves and dictating with her ground strokes, Eala never flinched. She absorbed the pressure, adapted to the pace, and gradually began steering the match onto her own terms. It was the kind of composure normally associated with seasoned champions, not a young wild card trying to make a breakthrough. Confidence grew with every point, belief built with every rally. And with each game, it became clearer that Eala had arrived in Berlin not just physically ready, but mentally prepared to understand exactly what she was capable of. To fully appreciate what happened, it helps to understand where Eala stood before arriving in Berlin. For years, she had been regarded as one of the sport's brightest young talents. Coaches praised her ability. Analysts admired her left-handed game. Fans caught flashes of brilliance that hinted at something special. But potential and achievement are not the same thing. Young players are labeled future stars long before they actually prove themselves against the sport's elite, and the journey from promising prospect to genuine contender is one of the most unforgiving in professional tennis. Many talented players never complete it. The challenge is not simply one of skill. It is learning to perform under pressure, to carry expectations without being crushed by them, and to believe in yourself when standing across the net from someone who has already won Grand Slam titles. Berlin became the stage where Eala proved she was ready for that next step. But the victory over Rybakina did not arrive from nowhere. It was the continuation of momentum that had been quietly gathering throughout the grass court season. Her confidence had been building match by match. She had already shown signs that her game was well suited to the surface, rewarding her ability to take the ball early, generate angles, and redirect pace. Unlike many players who need time to find their footing on grass, Eala looked comfortable almost immediately. Her movement was natural. Her shot selection was sharp. And above all, she played with a freedom that made her genuinely dangerous. Before facing Rybakina, she had already claimed an impressive win over Danos, a result that should have served as a warning to anyone paying close attention. While the tennis world remained focused on the established names, Eala was quietly assembling one of the best runs of her career. By the time she stepped onto the court against the world number 2, she was not hoping for a miracle. She was carrying real conviction that she could win. The match itself became a lesson in resilience. Rybakina's power tested Eala's defenses early and often. Many players would have buckled under the weight of that pressure. Eala did the opposite. She stayed patient, trusted her game, and waited for her moments rather than forcing them. Instead of chasing winners from impossible positions, she focused on extending rallies and making Rybakina play one more shot than she wanted to. Against a player of Rybakina's caliber, that kind of disciplined execution demands exceptional mental control. Gradually, the match began to turn. Eala started reading the serve more effectively, finding ways to neutralize the first strike and convert defense into offense. The crowd sensed it before the scoreboard showed it. What had looked like a predictable evening was becoming something far more compelling. Every game tightened the atmosphere. Every service hold felt meaningful. Every break point carried real weight. Yet through all of it, Eala's body language never wavered. She looked calm. She looked focused. She looked, above all, like she believed she was exactly where she was supposed to be. That quiet confidence became one of the defining images of the entire match. Young players often betray their nerves through rushed decisions or emotional reactions. Eala showed neither. She played with a maturity that seemed to belong to someone years older and dozens of matches more experienced. When chances arose, she took them. When mistakes happened, she moved past them. She stayed anchored in the present moment, and that ability to remain mentally steady ultimately proved to be one of the most decisive factors in her victory. When she closed out the first set, the upset was no longer a fantasy. It was taking shape. But the second set brought a different kind of challenge. Winning a set against a top player is difficult. Finishing the match is something else entirely. Champions like Rybakina have built entire careers on fighting back from exactly these situations. Everyone watching understood the match was far from settled, and so did Eala. Rather than retreating into a defensive shell, she kept attacking. Rather than becoming cautious with a finish line in sight, she remained brave. That decision defined the closing stages. She continued creating opportunities, continued handling the pressure moments with composure, and refused to let anxiety seep into her shot-making. When the final point ended, the weight of the moment landed all at once. A young wild card from the Philippines had just defeated one of the biggest names in professional tennis. The crowd erupted. Commentators reached for words that felt adequate. Fans across the world turned to their phones to react. But perhaps the most lasting image was Eala herself, the emotion on her face capturing everything that had poured into that moment. Years of training, years of sacrifice, years of believing in something that others had quietly dismissed as unrealistic. All of it came together in a single, unforgettable match. The celebration was not simply about winning a tennis match. It was about proving something to herself and to every person who had watched her journey from the beginning. It was confirmation that she belonged among the best. The impact stretched far beyond Berlin. For Philippine tennis, this was a historic moment. The country had produced fine athletes before, but achievements of this magnitude were extraordinarily rare. Young players watching from home suddenly had a new example to reach toward. Fans who had never followed tennis closely found themselves drawn into Eala's story. Media outlets around the world began paying attention to a name they had largely overlooked. What had started as a single upset was becoming a defining chapter for an entire sporting community. The conversation surrounding Alexandra Eala changed almost overnight. Before Berlin, the discussion centered on potential. After Berlin, it shifted to possibility. Could she make a deep run at Wimbledon? Could she push into the top ranks? Could she become a consistent force against the world's best players? Those questions suddenly felt grounded in reality, rather than wishful thinking. The victory also underscored one of sport's most fundamental truths: timing matters. Talented players appear every generation, but genuine breakthroughs tend to come when confidence and readiness collide at exactly the right moment. Eala's belief was rising at precisely the right time. As Wimbledon approached, she was no longer a prospect flying quietly beneath the radar. She had become one of the most talked about players in the sport. But breakthrough wins carry their own weight, and every rising star must eventually demonstrate that one remarkable result is not simply a one-off. If Berlin revealed anything, it is that Alexandra Eala has the mentality to meet that challenge head-on. She showed courage, composure, and conviction under the kind of pressure that exposes whatever is missing in a player's game. Almost nobody expected her to win. She won anyway, and in doing so, announced herself to the tennis world in the most emphatic way possible. The future looks considerably brighter than it did just days ago, and Eala now appears capable of reaching heights that once seemed far beyond what anyone dared to imagine.